Welcome back, and it's time now for us to get into the news review. Shortly, I'll be introducing to you the other person who will be joining me for this review. But for now, thank you for staying with us as we get into the newspapers. This segment always brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, and they are offering free prostate screening if you're a man out there. Don't wait. If you're in your 30s right now, don't wait till you see any signs, any wrong signals. Just every year, be consistent with it. Check your prostate. I mean, a full medical screening, yes, but check your prostate as well. It's crucial. If you're a woman, do you know your fertility status? Do you know where you stand? Do you know whether you are developing fibroids, for example? It's becoming common nowadays. That is why you can get both of these from Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. They're offering it gratis, completely for free, okay? Make tracks to any of their branches. Here in Accra, they are at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. In Kumasi, they are at Kronumabwe here, behind the Angel Educational Complex. Then there's Takradia Naji Estate, there's Tema Community 22, there's Tichiman Hanswa, there's Siama and Zima. If you'd like to call them, these are the numbers you can reach them on. 0244 867 068, 0244 867 068, or 0274 234 321, 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But just the start of the news review with my partner in mischief. I meant my partner in good things. Joseph Akabli. The mischief was mischievous. Yeah. I said, but this morning, I love your boots. I saw your boots and I fell in love with them.
Yeah.
I fell in love with your boots.
I got them recently. They are quite expensive, but I mean.
Oh really?
You have to try. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they are.
And you are living the life, oh?
No. I got liquidity support from various sources.
Liquidity support,
Yeah.
just to get boots. Yeah. But I've noticed you have this love, this penchant for boots. What is it? You wouldn't usually, if you find this gentleman, watch him when he's delivering his reports from court. You would often see him in boots-like, boots.
I don't like the flat shoes. The one that has something like underneath it a bit. Mm-hmm. When I was a boy, I used to really hate them. That's all my mom was buying for me. So I always said to myself that. Yeah.
Now that you're a bit older.
Yeah, I always said to myself that when I'm able to afford, I'll just buy what I want to wear. So, I mean, I'm trying to these days wear what I.
Yeah, living up to your. Anyway, it's good to have you join us this morning. Like I would usually do with my guests and even my colleagues here when we have the opportunity of doing this. I'd like to find out from you, what are the highlights of the week for you in terms of those major stories? You've been in court throughout, you followed the Jachikwesin trial, the ups and downs, there's parliament and everything happening there. And now we have the first deputy speaker, Joe Wise, saying that this is turning out to be the worst parliament in Ghana's history. What do you make of it?
I think obviously my highlight would be what's been playing out in Parliament and the courts, because I've been covering that quite closely, and I don't think I would have reason to disagree with Joe Seusu in terms of his conclusions about how things have gone in Parliament.
You think it's turning out to be the worst?
Yes, I don't have any doubt at all. I mean, a lot of people, when Parliament became closely pegged, the thinking was that it was going to be used to direct government policy. We've not seen that happen. There are test cases, very controversial matters. Let's pick E-levy, for instance. The parliamentary numbers could not be used to ensure that some form of negotiations take place in order to reach a conclusion where it does not come into force. It came into force. Yes, some may argue that it went down to 1%, but the point really is that it is what people did not want. We've seen ministers who were appointed and everyone or some analysts made a point that there were too many ministers or some people should not be approved wholesale. They were all approved wholesale. The most recent one was the three new ministers that were approved, the Trade and Industry Agric Minister. We had a minority that declared that it was going out all out to ensure that they were not going to approve those three individuals because it was going to add on to the numbers. They were approved anyways.
Fisheries and aquaculture, Mavis Hawakumsin.
We saw that. She was one person that the minority drew a red line. Above her name, but she ended up getting the.
She ended up getting the highest votes,
yes.
surprisingly.
Yes, so
So you're laying the blame at the doorstep of both political parties.
Yes, it's both political.
So we've seen the fights, the rancor. Carlos Ahinkra, yesterday was his birthday or so, running away with ballots and getting chased.
Yeah.
We have seen the walkouts and so many others. We've seen the Bloody Widow incident, Lydia Al Hassan post the Ayawaso West Wogon by-election. But at the same time, some would say this is what democracy is all about: the push and shove, the back and forth, and that this actually is the best we've had in the Fourth Republic. What would you say to such people?
I mean, to what end exactly? And that's why the minister points you, the deputy speaker points you to the fact that in terms of laws passed, and if you remember, the first term under Professor Michael Kwe, that parliament, I remember when they did the review at the end of the session, the conclusion was that it had passed the most bills in the history of the Parliament of Ghana. I mean, you have the Deputy Speaker again making the point that if you compare since 2020 till now, this Parliament may end up at the end as at close of 2024, possibly passing the least number of bills in the history of Parliament.
Is the work of Parliament restricted to, yes, they are lawmakers, but it's also about the quality of bills. It's not about the quantity of bills. But primarily, there are certain bills that have been on the table, on the back burner for a long time that we've been talking about, which now are actually coming to the fore. I mean granted, we cannot
granted, no doubt, but
run away from that.
if you want to talk about quality, let's look at quality in this week. One whole week. It's a week where there are questions. A number of questions were actually filed in the name of the minority members of parliament. Those questions ended up being answered by the minister. There wasn't an opportunity for any proper follow-ups or interrogation of those questions as would happen if they were present in the House. What I'm saying is that it is not unknown to parliamentary culture for MPs to stage walkouts and all those things. What I'm saying is that this parliament as a house has failed to reach consensus when it mattered most. It has also failed to use the strength of its members on both sides to force change when it also equally matters most. So in the end, we have every bit of everything happening. So there are instances when you don't expect consensus is raged behind the scenes. There are instances where you expect people to use their muscle to stop something, they are unable to stop it. So we have
like with the e-levy.
So you have a lot of different things happening, but the net effect has not been as impressive as a lot of people would want it to go. And so that is my issue with this particular weekend, how things have gone on in Parliament.
Anyway, so those are his sentiments on happenings, goings on in recent times. But let's get into the papers now, Joe. Let's find out what they have to share with us. You have the Finder and the Daily Guide. It's a bit of a lean morning.
Yes, very lean. I mean,
it's almost as though we were dieting.
Yeah, it's a rainy morning though.
Charlie?
Yeah. So.
This kind of morning, if you are coming from certain places, we at least mistake. You'll be caught somewhere and you will not be able to.
Yeah, it's the kind of morning that when you see sometimes when you wake up, you say that my main chairman kakra.
It nearly happened to me this morning.
You'll be in big trouble.
I was, and then I was like, hey.
It's very dangerous.
And the rain, especially with our kinds of roads and the craters we have on them, and then the traffic that springs up all of a sudden when it's raining. I don't know. It's almost as though the rains always came with traffic. Like it can even be at dawn. All of a sudden when it starts raining, I think everyone gets in a hurry. Hey, and then
and also because some parts of the road ends up being covered by the rain. So the roads do not become as wide as they often are.
So now you see a number of cars using one lane, trying to squeeze through Nsembebe. But anyway, we'll soon be done with this season. All I am looking at is the next rainy season, which is the heavier one. It's shorter but heavier, and I'm hoping we can put measures in place before then. But let's get into the papers. You have the Daily Guide, the Finder. I have the Daily Graphic. Maybe, just maybe, we may add some online portals. But let's start from your end.
And so the Daily Guide reports this morning that the NPP National Executive Committee discusses special delegates confab. Bugri Naabu aides grabbed over leaked IGP tape, and Abesim killer for High Court is on the front page, and Cassius mining injunction set for ruling. Interior Minister must act swiftly, so according to the GJA. The back page has this story about I cried for 5 days after World Cup exit. It's coming from Neymar. A deadly shooting overshadows Women's World Cup starts also on the back page. And GFA rolls out 2023-2024 season roadmap, and Ghana maintains FIFA ranking is also over there. So, I mean, a bit of some of the stories that are quite new and broke out yesterday. I think the MPP one, we know that the party has now indicated that they actually had a petition that was filed by 9 flag bearer candidates asking the party leadership to consider the decision to centralize the August 26 special delegates congress. Now, according to the petitioners, the plan to hold a special congress on a regional basis does not sit well with them, arguing that decentralizing an election with only 900 delegates would not be a wise decision. And so the petition was sent to the party. The party met, the high decision making body met, and they've come to the conclusion that they would hold it in a decentralized manner. So what will happen is that there will be voting taking place in all the 16 regions. Then there will also be one other center at the headquarters, and sort of for other national officers and other individuals who will be voting.
What do you make of that position, though?
It's weird. I mean, only 900.
I mean, 900. I found it rather
900
curious.
900 can be like I mean, because the EC, they've decentralized their polling stations now, so 900 can be like maybe some 2-3 polling stations.
It could even in some areas be one.
Yes, it could possibly be one. So, I mean, it begs the question. So I don't know what the voting arrangement will be on that day. So, for instance, if we are voting across the country and we are done voting, the number of people on the register in each area, if they are done voting, do they wait till 5 p.m. before they close voting and transmit it to Accra? That's the question.
Those dynamics we'll have to find out when the party moves ahead with this, and of course the Electoral Commission also.
But it's interesting that 9 of them, I mean, from our understanding, minus Baumia, we understand 9 of them actually took the view that it should be held in a centralized location. I don't know. I mean, that's why would someone?
I wouldn't find it so surprising.
Does it affect it anyway?
I don't find it so surprising because it's always been said that Dr. Baumia is more or less the establishment candidate, the establishment person. Would he go against establishment? That is the administrative leadership of the party. I don't know. Maybe he has his own opinion and has simply not shared it.
I mean, but do you think it's
9 out of 10 are saying, look, we have questions, hard questions on the matter, I feel the party should listen. Sometimes I feel our two political parties, even in their internal politics, it's a bit of a take or leave situation, and this is one of them. It remains to be seen how the party will roll this out and whether they will in fact listen.
I mean, do you think it affects the chances of any of the candidates anyway, whether we are voting at one location at, say, trade fair, and whether we are voting across the country? Does it increase or decrease anyone's chances?
Give or take, it may not. Politics is a curious game. It's an interesting game. And of course, when you have everyone in one location, look, there are some people who, at the very, at the 11th hour, may interact with someone else from some other place and get convinced to vote this way or that. And in a centralized location, I feel then you have that level of accountability. You know what is going on generally. The picture is clear. You remember when the MPP went and John Bwedu was losing. It is clear. The writing is on the wall. You can see that generally this is what is going on. JFK is winning. I feel that is the case. When you spread it across the regions, then someone may be in the Ashanti region and say, oh, this region, the way things went there, I'm not happy. I don't feel it was this. I feel that was compromised. I feel that all of that could have been taken away. You have everybody at one location, and please, 900 people, really.
And I think the cost as well. I mean, because, yes, some of the candidates have the financial muscle to effectively have a good monitoring system across the system regions. I do not think all of them have the capacity.
Not all of them.
Do that.
Not all of them. I don't want to mention names, so it doesn't appear I'm denigrating anybody.
We know some of them.
We know that some would struggle, really struggle.
Yeah. So that's that story from the NPP. There's this other one about Bugri Naabu. This
is it about the leaked tape?
Yes, the alleged plot to remove the IGP. He had an interview with Oyerpes Parker Wilson, and there are parts of the interview where he effectively confirms that the recording took place at his place, because he says they had come to see him to complain to him about a senior party official, and we are told that 2 of his aides have been arrested. So he says, well, this morning they took the lead that they were going to work, my personal aide, SK, and then my reception. So they've both been arrested. And so I heard from Parliament too. James Agalgo on the Interior, the Security and Defense Committee. So, there's a committee, a special committee that has been set up to investigate the matter.
Bipartisan.
Yes, he says this makes their work easier because they have someone who has admitted to the fact that the recording took place at his place. And so that effectively authenticates the content of the tape to an extent. And they will invite Bugri Naabu to...
Who was it that came on this show? There was someone. And the person said, look, if the authorities really want to get into this, all they have to do is go to Bugri Naabu. Why? He's a very honest man, and if it did happen, he'll own up and say, this is what transpired.
And I mean,
I've forgotten. There was a member of, I think it was an NDC
but the funny thing
member
was
of
that even at that
Parliament
time, we didn't even know how Bugri Naabu was connected to this.
Yeah, that's true. We had just heard that it had been conducted in his premises.
Yes.
At his residence.
Yes, but I mean, everyone seemed to, for some reason...
And now he's actually come out to confirm that it did take place. And what we do not know is the motive behind the recording. Anyway.
Some other story in the Daily Guide, there's this mining fight between government and Cassius Mining. And we are told that an Accra court has set July 31 to give a ruling on an application for interim injunction filed by the Attorney General seeking to restrain Cassius Mining Limited from filing another international arbitration against the government of Ghana. And so on that day, they would also make a decision on a preliminary objection by the lawyers for the Australian company regarding the propriety or otherwise of the action initiated against it. And so the Attorney General is seeking to restrain the company from pursuing any arbitration outside Ghana until the pending arbitration processes in Ghana, the Ghana Arbitration Center, are concluded. And the company had actually dragged Ghana to an international arbitration center demanding $300 million. But the AG says, under their mining prospective license...
They want to take all our IMF money. That's literally half of what... And if you look at the attendant costs, surrounding costs, it would actually be more than that sum of 300 million. Anyway.
So you can see why the AG is fighting this one out. Black Sheriff arrested.
I was just about to say, Charlie, what's up with Black Sheriff? So
what
does the story say? And let's talk about what is also, out there on social media. What really happened?
The story says he was reportedly arrested at the Kotka International Airport on Wednesday upon his return from a trip. He was picked up by personnel of the Criminal Investigations Department of the Ghana Police Service for his failure to honor his side of a contractual obligation to perform at a show in Greece. So according to a Kofi TV report, he was stopped upon arrival because his name had been placed on a stop list. The report indicated that he was taken to the police headquarters in Accra for further investigations. Details of the alleged arrest had it that he was to perform in Greece on a cruise ship on July 4. He charged $40,000 and he was paid half of the money ahead of the concert. He was to be paid the rest of the money after the concert. Unfortunately, he didn't show up in Greece for the concert. The organizers have therefore decided to take up the matter with the police. And the video on social media captured Black Sheriff being led out of the airport by the police CID. The villain who never was a Black Sheriff.
It appears in this instance, he just might be an actual villain. But some of what I've read on social media, and of course this it's still a bit sketchy. We've seen one Danny something, speaking to the issues, but apparently there was a $20,000, so a $40,000 deal.
Yeah, that was a charge.
Half paid the first time, half upon actually carrying out the service that he was supposed to render on this yacht or whatever in Greece. Okay, anyway, so that is just by the side. And then apparently he's supposed to make some promos or something, which were not a part of the contract, which he is not allowed to do. And apparently some people, the Grams Morgans and the rest,
I said they tried to
come in, and apparently his management calls their bluff about three, Baba Sadiq among others, and then their bluff is called, and then finally this is the action taken. But if that is the trajectory, then I feel Black Sheriff's management, there may be some question marks in there, because then they've exposed their artiste to unnecessary ridicule. And you never know what such, I learned from the Caleb Kuda happening with national security and all of that, it's a very dicey, I know someone very close to him. I know him, but we are not that close. But some of what I got to know, you have to be very careful. Some people, it's very how they are dealt with in this instance. It can impact them in a lot of ways. And I feel sad that because he has brought a lot of positives, attention to Ghana and all of that. This is a negative I wasn't expecting. I
mean, for me, I heard the gentleman who claimed to have brokered the deal, and from what I heard from him, I also came to the same conclusion that I think our artists, some of them are not taking management seriously. I think some of them are doing so actually, because the discussions on social media, someone was also making a point that if you pick someone like Sarkodie, he's been in the game for a while. I don't recall any publication I've heard somewhere that Sarkodie has taken money from someone and he didn't show up.
Yeah.
I've heard it with a number of other artists in some instances.
I mean, and even when they do, even Burna Boy, there are places where, and then apologies will be issued, the right thing would be done. I think this, what's his name? Odoyo, what's the Nigerian artist?
Is it Kiss Daniel? He was supposed
Kiss
to be
Daniel. Was it Tanzania, Ghana, among others? Yeah. I mean, you must do the right things. Madonna had to cancel an entire, but that one, there are medical reasons. There's nothing, but it's a force majeure situation.
Yes, but you ought to communicate. It's
exactly the point I was getting.
And you see, even my initial instinct is to say that, look, why is the police arresting him? It's a contract. They should sue him for breach of contract. But then again, my suspicion is that they may be trying to contact them and they are not getting them. And so in this case, they will actually possibly be filing a defrauding.
Honestly, I feel the arrest was a bit of overkill. I feel it was unnecessary.
Yeah, I mean, but if you are unable,
if you're
unable,
there are processes to trigger.
Yeah, but
there are processes to trigger.
But I mean, I heard a gentleman. He says we can't find him. So I mean, instead of going under a breach of contract, you walk to the police station and say that this guy took your $20,000 that he was going to come.
He's defrauded me. So
he didn't come, so he's defrauded me, and the police would have to arrest. So it changes the whole dynamics from a breach of contract into a possible crime that has been committed.
But one thing is for sure, I want to hope that artists in the country will learn a lesson from this.
Yeah.
If you are entering any contractual arrangement with someone, better know what the fine print is, and if they expect X, Y, Z of you. I mean, there are some things I've been doing for some entities over the years. You know exactly what is expected of you, so you don't go outside of that. If you do, you are in breach and you will be held liable. It's just a sorry situation.
Yeah, but unfortunately, we've actually not heard from Black Sheriff.
Yeah, he's come
directly, so we'll be looking forward to hear from them. But I mean, I love Blacko. Yeah, he's the Charlie champion. He's the champion.
Charlie, some of his, he has the song with Our Day or something. Sometimes the way he starts a song, the way he comes in, like hard.
Yeah.
Oil in my head.
Yes.
Charlie.
Yes.
Like he comes in, no preliminary way. Like he comes in, boom.
Yeah.
It's not like, artists usually will warm you into a song.
No.
Like, he's covered like a Taliban. Like he comes in hard and the beats and
yeah, man.
I was driving the other day with someone and I was like, Charlie, this song, the way the guy starts, Charlie.
Yeah, you know they take his time.
The fire between
Like, that's my.
It just comes in. Boom.
Oil in my head is my morning drive song, and he said something interesting some time ago, and that's why I'm expecting a song when it comes out. He said that he's a musician. He said he doesn't waste stories, so when something happens to him, he's not going to tweet about it or
Puts it in a song. Next best thing.
Charlie said his producers are always, they have a lot of beats. So Charlie, once the beat there, he can't waste the story. You put it on the beat and make money from it. I mean, so.
And that's one thing, I think a niche he's carving out for himself. If you look at rappers and all of that, that's why Nas would be hailed over a Jay-Z,
who
I
love Nas.
Many more platinum. I prefer Nas to Jay-Z. He's a storyteller.
Yeah, storyteller.
For some people, the foremost storyteller in terms of rap music.
He's not your typical wordplay, rhyme kind of guy, but he's telling you a story.
Listen to Sabali, for example, with Damian Marley.
Damian Marley, I love it.
Anyway, let's get into some other stories. The Finder, we have just about 5 minutes, and then, so you finish with the Finder, and then I'll get into
So quickly, the front page stories on the Finder. Portuguese President Lord Ghana's good democratic culture, and 9 MPP flag bearer hopefuls demand centralized special delegates conference. Okay, it's been turned down like we know. A new register for special delegates conference to be ready by end of week is from Justin Frimpong Kodua. And road crashes kill 1,086 in 6 months. Motorcycles alone killed a staggering 459 persons. And so those are the stories in the final newspaper. I think you can do the daily graphic now, Ben.
All right. There's this message that comes through. Albert K. says, I'm praying for the day that the media will stop talking about the MPP and the NDC, but the party themselves will buy their own airtime to propagate their contributions to the nation building. It's a two-way street. If you see us covering an event of theirs, full scale like that, they have paid for it. But when you see us engaging them on policy matters, on governance matters, of course, what would you expect us to do? We would have to bring them here so that we can hold their feet to the fire of accountability. So it's a two-way street, my brother. Anyway, let's the daily graphic. 2023 National Insurance Fair, only 1% of public insured. Can you imagine that? 1% of public insured. Insurers Association concerned. Collaborate with government to increase hotel rooms. Tourism Minister to hoteliers. Cleaner loses 4-bedroom house. And then Supreme Court rules on Bank of Ghana revocation of licenses. And that story is also becoming another thorny matter. You remember GN?
Yes.
And
so he had wanted to go. He sued an Article 33 that his rights had been breached. At the High
You're
Court.
talking of Dr. Papa
Kusindum, because his property had been taken away from him in a manner contrary to the Constitution. And
right.
so the BOG raised an objection that under the Banks and Specialized Deposit Taking Institutions Act, you should go to alternate dispute resolution if you have issues with revocation of your license. The High Court disagreed with the BOG. The Court of Appeal agreed with the BOG. Now the Supreme Court has now agreed with the High Court. So they are going back to the High Court to litigate the human rights action as to whether the revocation breached his rights as a Ghanaian.
On the back page, 3 fishermen arrested for fishing during close season. Aswati. Yeah, day. 3 fishermen arrested for fishing during close season. That's the story. But let me just focus on these ones, and then we can wrap. Now, only 1% of the 37 million population of Ghana are insured, a figure that industry experts have described as disturbing, given the benefits of insurance in every economy. Now, speaking at the opening of a 3-day insurance fair in Accra yesterday, the second vice president of the Ghana Insurers Association, Mabel Nana Nyakwa Pobli, expressed concern about the low penetration rate of insurance in the country and called on Ghanaians to cultivate the habit of securing their lives and property through insurance. Okay. Then there's this other story. Let me go to page 13 and do the stories there. So the Supreme Court has declared that the High Court can interrogate the revocation of licenses of banks and specialized deposit-taking institutions, especially with regard to alleged breaches of fundamental human rights. Now, the court held that Section 141 of the Banks and Special Deposit-Taking Institutions Act 2016, that is Act 930, which stipulates arbitration as the means of seeking redress for those whose licenses had been revoked by the Bank of Ghana, did not oust the jurisdiction of the High Court to also determine the propriety of the revocation. So like you said, that is where we find ourselves currently. A cleaner loses 4-bedroom house, and a cleaner and bakery owner whose 4-bedroom house at Impehwasem in the Greater Accra region, was demolished, is seeking justice a year after the ordeal. Benson Osei Champong, who works at the University of Ghana, bought the 70 feet by 100 feet plot from the then chief of Impehwasem in Accra, Ni Soja Obudai, and secured an indenture of the land dated December 31, 2011. An indenture which he showed to the Daily Graphic confirms that Ni Obudai gave the land worth 40,000 Ghana cedis to a Champong on behalf of the Sanshi family of La in the Greater Accra region. We have a plethora of such cases, land litigation, immovable property, and I don't know. As for Accra, Charlie, you don't get land for yourself.
If you are not careful, you don't do due diligence, you'll be in big trouble. If you're not diligent about how you go about the checks, Charlie, you end up buying land and even spending more to even decide to even leave the land itself for someone else. It's a big problem.
It's a really big issue. Let me just see whether on the international front we can pick something from there, and then we can go. 1 million more could soon face hunger in Burkina Faso. That's according to an NGO. And we have our own situation here in this country with the numbers that have fallen into poverty and hunger. UK sanctions Wagner leaders over African activities, and UK to confiscate $129 million from Nigerian ex-governor. Now today, on the chopping board, I'm going to be sharing my blunt thoughts as always, and it's quite a pot that I have for you. I'm going to be talking about the cedis flip-flop. You still have to purchase it at around 12 Ghana cedis. I'm going to be talking about the proposed haircuts, or the new ones we're going to have in that second round of a debt exchange program. I'm going to be talking about the SkyTrain project and wrapping with some thoughts, I couldn't help myself, on the death penalty and the dynamics therein. Those on the chopping board this morning. But let me say a very good morning and happy birthday to Aaron Telfer. Aaron, fantastic guy. I've known you for many years. Today's your birthday, and you are in a UN operation now. I just want to wish you the very best, my brother. Happy birthday to you, Aaron Telfer, and greetings to the family. Bro, we have to go for prime take. Any final thoughts before we run?
I'm very tired. We are grateful that the week has come to an end. God,
does the week really end?
Yeah, I mean, I'm coming to work tomorrow, but I mean, it's ended. It's ended anyways. I mean, it's fine. It's been a good week, and we look forward to a great week. And unfortunately, the football seasons are off, so the weekends are a bit dull for a lot of people. I know a lot of our viewers are big football fans. They'll have to make do with other. Some people have started watching tennis and trying to watch other things.
I've always been a fan of tennis, though.
Yeah,
I've been watching it since the days of Pete Sampras, Andre Agassi.
I see. I'm a football boxing. That's just about it.
Oh, we should arrange a match one of these days. Have a display.
I never said I'm a boxer.
No. I'm saying I'm taking you on. We should do something one of these days. After all, Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg say they want to.
We have to get a license from the.
We have to get a license.
Ghana Boxing Authority.
We go do one behind the scenes. Anyway, Joe, thanks for joining the conversation this morning. That is Joseph Akablay, and he heads a certain desk here. Should I tell them? All right. So that is how we wrap up the news review. Of course, always brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. They are offering free prostate screening, free female fertility screening as well. Locate them here in Accra in Spentex, opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi Kronuma here, behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrade Anaji Estate, Tema Community 22. There's Techiman Hans where there's Yamanzima. Reach them on 0244-867-068 or 0274-234-321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. Bringing us to the end of the news review and the